Hey everyone, Coach Keith Kepner here. We're going to talk about anaerobic boxing training. Now, to find out what I mean by that and how to do it, you got to stick around. But first, make sure you like, subscribe, comment below something you enjoyed, a question you have, and also consider buying me a cup of coffee with a super thanks. How do you do that? Well, at the bottom of the video on the right-hand side, you see that little thanks right there? Go on it, click it, and you see just recently people have put down $5, $10. It really helps the channel. And if you want to see me produce more content, then contribute. Awesome way to support and be a part of the community. All right. Now, by the way, at the end of the video, I'm going to give you specific combos to practice, the same combos that my father had me practice and that I have my fighters practice, as well as I'm going to show some video demonstrations of it. All right. So make sure you stick around for that at the end. Now, classic boxing training, as I mentioned earlier, it tends to lean very aerobic, okay, versus anaerobic. What's the difference with oxygen or without oxygen? Aerobic is with oxygen, anaerobic is without oxygen. But what does that really mean? It means that you're a little bit more, think of like cardio. All right, just base level conditioning versus explosiveness.
Direction in a hurry. Right hand glances off the chin, but it rocked Kennedy. The left hook does it the same.
Kennedy's hands are really very low, and Tyson, you have to like how poised he is right here. He is picking his shots well. He is hurting.
This one could be over.
Okay, that's really the main difference. So aerobic is a little bit more base level conditioning. Anaerobic is a little bit more explosive style of conditioning, right? For more power, but done repeatedly as opposed to like a 1-rep max. Now, what are these more aerobic styles of training? Running. Of course, you could do running in a more anaerobic way, which means sprinting. But generally, what's recommended for boxers traditionally is a more steady state style of running, which I'll go into more details about that. Then you have speed bag, which again, you might think, oh, well, Coach Keith, you're going super fast, right, on a speed bag. Well, in actuality, if you see how fast the fist is moving, it's moving at, I guess, approximately a third the speed of the speed bag, because it's, or yeah, I guess 1/3, because the speed bag is hitting triplets, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you're moving one of the 1, 2, 3s, and the bag is hitting the other 2 times. So I mean, you're at least only moving half as fast as you hear that rhythm. And so that's where the speed bag gives the illusion of speed with the sound and the speed of the bag, and the seeming coordination that is required for it, which there is coordination required for it, but there's a point of diminishing returns very quickly with it. And then you have the jump rope. Okay, and again, the jump rope, again, you can do double unders, and that is a great explosive jump. So that's where you could make an argument. It's a little bit more of an anaerobic style of training, but how often do you see people do it? More often than not, it's done in a more aerobic style fashion where they're building up an aerobic base, which is important. All right. Now, the base, like I'm saying, with boxing, to have an aerobic base, a conditioning base, is essential. In any periodization model, any training of an athlete, you look for base level conditioning, and base level conditioning is aerobic. So it is very important to have, but we also need anaerobic. All right. So what is going to be the most specific, though, type of anaerobic training we can do? Because right off the rip, you can think of all the different types of exercises people might do, whether it's plyometrics, and all the various forms that embodies. Also, weightlifting as well falls under the category of anaerobic. And yes, these things absolutely do help you increase speed, increase power, increase strength. All right. And can help you increase anaerobic conditioning. But here's the challenge, though. Okay, I'm not saying there's not a time and a place for these things, but are they the most specific? And there's a time to be less specific, but probably if you're watching this, you haven't been boxing for the same length of time that you see your favorite famous boxer on, YouTube boxing for, right? That's getting ready for their world title fight that they've been training for since they were 10 years old. Okay? So, the most specific type of training is going to really emphasize a few body parts. Okay? And really, when we're talking about limbs, right? Because obviously, there's your core ability, right? Your strength of your abdominals and things like that. And so many nuances that go into training an athlete and a fighter. But if you were to look at it from a pure limb factor, the lead arm, all right, assuming this guy right here is orthodox, right? If you're southpaw, it's just the opposite. But your lead arm needs to be the most developed. Right? These are just facts. Like, yes, you can name me a lot of great fighters that have a great rear arm, right? So let's just talk about orthodox land. They have a great right hand. Okay? There you go. Rocky Marciano, for instance. But Charlie Goldman with Rocky Marciano, what did he do? He helped Rocky develop what? Not his rear more. Maybe he helped refine it and made it less sloppy, but he helped him develop his lead hand to the point where, in one fight, he double, triple left hook somebody.
Marciano lunges with the left jab, then hooks, and hooks again, and Matthews is knocked to the canvas.
Okay? And the same thing goes for a more contemporary fighter like Manny Pacquiao, right? Manny Pacquiao, southpaw, so his strong arm is his left arm. He had a great left arm. What did Freddie Roach do? Help him do, apparently, supposedly. Helped him develop power, coordination, everything else in his lead arm. Go back in time, in the time capsule, to when boxing was truly, in my opinion, revolutionized. And in Chuck Bodak's opinion as well. And for those of you guys that don't know who Chuck Bodak is, you can watch one of my other videos to get a little background. That Joe Louis really, along with his coach, obviously, Jack Blackburn, helped revolutionize and create modern boxing. And but what would Blackburn do is he would have Louis do more things with his left arm. Louis was right-handed, and he was orthodox, of course. Back in the day, there was really a ban on southpaw fighters, right? That's why you saw so few. The only one that I can think of any note is Charlie Burley, but yeah, it's really almost no other people. Now, so Louis would have to pick up things and do things with his left arm because he wanted him to carry his gym bag, simple, basic, mindful things like that, because he wanted to develop his lead arm. And you want to develop your lead arm as well as a fighter. The extent to which you can progress as a fighter, I think, is determined by many factors, right? And at the end of the day, too, the will to win and toughness and everything else. But your lead arm is a big factor in that. An underdeveloped lead arm, a lead arm that can only do a throwaway jab, right? Like I talked about in my other videos, is not, you're not going to go very far, right? For just a big rear hand, that's not enough. You need a way to set it up at the very least. But if not, make that lead arm your most important weapon. And then along with that, the rear leg, all right? So it's not all about the lead arm and the lead leg. It's about the lead arm and the rear leg. Why is that? Because in order to do anything in boxing, most of the time, you're going to have to attack in some type of forward fashion. All right? Even guys that are great counterpunchers, they do explode off the rear leg.
Look at the considerable hand speed of Floyd Mayweather. I mean, the kid is just
whether it's to move off to the side or, again, to launch some type of counter attack. All right? Sometimes they backpedal out of there, and of course, that's something they do to avoid things. But regardless, developing that lead arm and that rear leg. Now, guess what? Guess how this encompasses a punch in boxing, right? The most important punch in boxing is going to utilize both of these, because we're going to step with our jab, push off our rear leg, and we're obviously going to jab with our lead arm. That is creating a jab scenario. And also as well, if you are going to, definitely it's good to generally have 50-50 weight on both feet. But if we're going to go 60-40, it is better typically to go 60 on the back leg, 40 on the rear leg. Maybe more specifically, it could be more nuanced than that even. But if we're going to put a slight more weight on a leg, let's do it on a rear leg, right? Because it's like I talked about with the game of chess. Where's the most important piece? It's in the back, right? The king. So therefore, when you box, where does the most important piece need to be, which is your head? It needs to be more in the back, not in the front. Only if you're looking to set a trap and bait someone into something, right? But people see that and they don't realize the nuance and why someone's doing that, so they just default to that, or they just see the same thing repeated over and over, time and time again, right? Now, it was a cool thing, brag point here that I was proud of. Long after being done with boxing, I got a DEXA scan where you get bone density for each part of your skeleton. And man, I should find where it is and pull it up and put it in this video, but I don't know where the hell it is. And I'm very proud to say that my lead arm, I'm right-handed, but my left arm had denser bone, more bone density and muscle than my right arm, even though I'm right-handed. And my right leg was denser and had more muscle and more bone density. All right, so that is exactly what you need and what you want as a fighter. Now, the best training, though, checks all boxes, because you can do, let's say, medicine ball throws. I'm trying to think, medicine ball rotations. You can do a push, a pull type of motion. You can do a lot of stuff, but it doesn't check all the boxes. Now, I know you might be thinking, man, Coach Keith, well, if I do a medicine ball throw and twist, I'm going to check all boxes, particularly if I'm standing, right? Because I'm going to rotate my trunk. I'm going to rotate my legs. I'm going to rotate my shoulders. I'm going to extend my arm out to throw the medicine ball. Coach Keith, I'm checking all the boxes, aren't I? Well, you are actually missing the most important box, because you can do all those things but lack one thing left in that whole chain, and your punch isn't going to be that good. What is that one thing? It's the squeeze at the end, the snap of the punch. The snap of the punch at the end is going to be the most important thing, because you can do all of the things that you're doing as you throw a punch, but if you hit him with a floppy hand, it's not going to do anything that you want it to do. All right? And some of the greatest knockouts in the history of boxing, like when you think about Muhammad Ali knocking out or knocking down, which led to basically I don't know what you call it, a KO or a TKO with Sonny Liston in the second fight. That was just a snap of the hand and a little bit of snap of the arm on the most beneficial place to hit somebody to hurt them, which is the tip of the jaw.
Right over the left and drop the challenger.
All right. Now, here are the boxes, though, so we're going to make sure we check all the boxes. So first off is we want to make sure it increases anaerobic conditioning. All right. So if it's going to be anaerobic boxing training, we got to make sure it increases anaerobic conditioning. So what does that mean? It needs to be done fast. It needs to be done explosively. It needs to be done with maximum power or close to maximum power. A lot of times people have the brakes on, right? It's like with an engine, you have a governor, right, that holds the engine back from going beyond a certain point. A lot of times people have the governor on them, or they're driving with the emergency brake on when they're boxing, and they're not. You tell them to go 100%. I see it all the time. Throw the punch, go for broke, and throw the punch as hard as you can on the bag. They do it, and I can just tell that something's holding them back, right? You tell someone run faster, and they say okay, and they seem like they try to run faster, but they truly don't run faster. They don't know how to actually get maximal contraction, and also the efficiency of the movement. All right, so that comes with time, along with a few other psychological factors and things like that. Now the next one, but anyway, we are checking the box, right? Obviously, because we're going to do things explosively, near to as 100% as much as we can with this style of training that we're going to do and talk about. All right, next one is increase sports technique. Okay, so again, like I talked about with throwing a medicine ball against the wall, even with a trunk rotation, you're not increasing sports technique. You're increasing a part of it, but you're not increasing sports technique. All right. Now, the last one is gain a strategical advantage. Okay, so if you're lifting weights, if you're doing all this other types of conditioning or whatever, there's no strategy that you're gaining, right? So we want to ideally check all these boxes. Do the thing that we're talking about, increase anaerobic conditioning, and then increase actual proficiency of the techniques, and then also gain a strategy that's going to be advantageous to us at least some of the time, if not a lot of the time, when we box. All right. Now, this is, again, talking about my father's style of training, which is, he was trained by Chuck Bodak, who worked with over 50 world champions and boxed under him as an amateur in CYO gym in Chicago. And then he went on to be a professional boxing coach, worked with many amateurs and pros, and then trained me, and I mentored under him as a coach in boxing in the United States and boxing in Mexico. Now, his style of training emphasized power above all else. All else. Now, the key, though, is it wasn't about just, what you might think, right? The one-hitter quitter. It was utilizing things together. Now, what's funny about this picture here, for instance, is that you see he has two body pads on because, he was getting a little bit up there in age, and he has the thick hand pads on because, again, it was always about maximum power. So if you see here, even though he's holding mitts for me with a body pad on, he has two body pads on, and he has the thick hand mitts that have the cushion, the air cushion in them to take off some of the snap of the punch, because, again, it was always about the power. All right. And there's some reasons why he developed that, because he worked with a lot of different guys, and some guys that, in his opinion, maybe they couldn't master all the nuanced techniques of boxing. And if you don't simplify the system, in a sense, or simplify the training, simplify the objective, they can get kind of lost in the woods, right? Think about it. If you're trying to lead someone to a destination, the more you tell them about little pit stops along the way and everything else, it's more opportunity for them to get distracted. And I've definitely seen that with fighters where, we've worked on things and done different things, and I try to help them expand their understanding of the sport, and that helps a lot of times. But sometimes it can lead them astray, and they get caught in these little rabbit holes of, I want to work on just being a defensive master, or I want to work on this thing, or like we see represented with YouTube and everything else, the internet nowadays, is that people get caught in this rabbit hole of like, oh, well, I want to be I want to explore peekaboo style, I want to explore Soviet style boxing, I want to explore roll the tape back by 10 years, I want to explore Philly shell boxing, right? Which is, like, at the end of the day, all those things are just nuanced pieces of just what boxing is and what many people do. As I've talked about, like, watch my guard video where I talk about guards disassembling all of the narrative about the cross guard, the Philly shell, all this other random stuff. Anyway, all right. But the reason why he was big on power is because at the end of the day, pro boxing is scored by power, right? If you and I are boxing around in pro boxing, I hit you with one big left hook, my favorite punch, and you hit me with like 5 jabs or just slightly less powerful punches, theoretically and probably I won the round. All right, it's 10-9. Now, if I put you on your butt with the left hook, it's a 10-8. And no matter how much of what you do, it's going to be very hard for you to ink that back out to get anywhere close to getting it beyond a 10-8 unless you drop me in that round. All right? In pro boxing, different scoring than amateur boxing. It used to be the same scoring, but that is the antithesis of true boxing, is pro boxing. That's the pinnacle of the sport, and that has always been and will always be the definition of what real boxing is. All right? But power, the reason why he was so big on power is because power is the great and the simple equalizer. Power is the great and the simple equalizer. If you are a coach with a fighter, or you yourself as a fighter, think of a classic example. I can't remember what fight it was, but I want to say, I might be wrong on this, but I want to say it was when Paulie Malignaggi fought Ricky Hatton. I think that was a fight that this was happening, okay? And if it wasn't, it was another fight with Paulie Malignaggi. But he was deep in the fight, not winning the fight, and it was like round 8 or whatever. And Buddy McGirt is, debating what to do. And at that point in the fight, of a 12-round fight, you're 8 rounds in and you're not winning. There's nothing that someone like Paulie Malignaggi can do. And again, I like Paulie a lot as he's a commentator, he's a world champion, everything else, all the credit in the world to him. But if you don't have power or big power or power to come back to snatch, the fight from the claws of defeat, you might as well stop the fight. If you're more than halfway through the fight and you haven't won the fight so far, and the mathematics aren't there for you to get it back by winning close rounds or, just getting, 10-9 rounds, you might as well throw in the towel.
I'm punching. I'm not going to see you take these shots. Okay?
I think his trainer's thinking about throwing in the towel
They're going to throw it in right now. You are exactly right. Absolutely right, Lennox Lewis. Buddy McGirt came up the steps, and he pushes Malignaggi away as Malignaggi complains to him.
No, I think he did the right thing because there was no way he's going to win the fight. And what is he going to do? Just accept punishment all the time?
Well, outside of just the, the fact that you don't want maybe on your record that you got stopped and that you finished the fight, but, there becomes an ethical dilemma that a coach has where it's like, well, do I want to let my guy keep on getting this punishment for no chance of a win, as opposed to when you do have that power, the simple and the great equalizer, you can snatch that fight back, right? In one moment, in one punch. All right. Think about with Rocky Marciano when he first fought for the heavyweight title and challenged Jersey Joe Walcott. He got knocked down in the first round. He was losing that whole fight. Round 13, knocks him out. He knocks out Jersey Joe. That's a phenomenal comeback, but that is only a comeback that can be done if you have power, right? There's a lot of other examples like that. And of course, one of the, and that's one thing too that I want to jump on here before talking a little bit further about that point is, if you have enough power, you can drop someone's boxing IQ, all right? And that's another factor as well. So not only being able to grab a fight from a loss and make it a win, right? Make everything right with the power. But also, you drop people's IQ points down. Maybe in actuality, right? By brain damage, but in terms of boxing. Because if you're going against a boxer that is a good slick boxer, and you give him some power, some danger, you rock him and stun him a little bit, it's going to drop him down. All right. So, controversial fight recently, the Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia fight, which again, you have, Ryan Garcia, like idiot fanboys, and you probably had the same with Devin Haney, but now, he's kind of doesn't really have that many fans anymore, it seems like. But anyway, I still, even though Ryan Garcia beat him up, I still think Devin Haney generally is a more versed boxer and everything else, but Ryan's power just took his IQ points down. And you see that with a lot of fighters where the power that someone possessed. Think about Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson going against a lot of the fighters he went against. The intimidation factor, but also the power brought people's boxing IQ down. And that allows him to get the win or to get him out of there. But think about a great example of a boxer that drops IQ points, boxing IQ points down against an opponent because they don't truly have that much boxing skill, and at least beyond a basic level. And few people want to argue this point, right? Is this gentleman right here, Deontay Wilder? And again, I'm not trying to cast shade on him or whatever the term is. Great respect for him. He got up there to the heavyweight championship and was heavyweight champion and everything else, and has had an amazing heart, or has an amazing heart in the ring. The comeback, going there again against Tyson Fury and everything else. Man, all the credit in the world. But at the end of the day, if you had Deontay Wilder with less power, right? If you cut the power down by 25%, he's not even getting anywhere close. He's not getting anywhere close to that heavyweight title, right? But because he had that power, he was able to snatch the win back, and he was also able to drop people's boxing IQ down within their fights. And I mean, that's not being disparaging. That's a fact. That's why, though, guys, power is the great and the simple equalizer, which is why we need to have anaerobic boxing training. Now, it's not, though, just about the big power punch, right? It's not just about the one-hitter quitter, right? Which is oftentimes what Deontay had. But what is better than one big bomb? You know the answer. It's more big bombs, a ton of big bombs. The more big bombs you can throw, the better. So what does this mean? It means putting our power punches together, right? If you just practice that one big power shot, that's not enough. We want to put them together. Now, this is where my dad's style of bag work and training that he trained me on comes in, and I'm going to share it with you. Because like I said, he didn't work just on one big power shot. He worked on putting the shots together explosively and powerfully, but doing it a certain way. And I'm going to share that with you. All right. Now, the bag is a very useful tool for boxing in general, for power. Of course, shadow boxing is, go watch my video on shadow boxing because that is the end all be all. But the bag is very beneficial. But there are some downsides of bag work, all right, that can hurt you in developing power based off of this methodology that I'm going to talk about and teach you, right? So you tend to stand in one place when you hit the bag, right? That's just automatically, no matter what your methodology is or whatever. People tend to just plant, and tack their feet in the ground and hit the bag, right? Because the bag just swings back and forth very predictably. Now, of course, you can do this differently. You can move around the bag and use the movement of the bag to move you around, and that's great and that's helpful. And I absolutely encourage you to do that and incorporate into your training, and all great fighters have done that, okay? Now, but also, though, the bag, the way it swings when you have it swing, doesn't truly move like a boxer, like an opponent. The pendulum swinging back and forth that a bag does is not like an opponent would do. So therefore, you're not creating, and also to perpetuate the swing, in order to keep it moving so you can move around it and do your thing, you're also sometimes kind of breaking some of the rules of boxing in a sense, right? Because you want to be able to run that bag as it's swinging laterally into a punch that stops it, just like an opponent, versus throwing another punch that facilitates the swing of the bag to keep it swinging so you can move around it. Now, of course, sometimes all these guys, they'll throw some punches to stop it. And then also the last thing too, though, the benefit of having a swinging bag is it does force you to get the punches off quickly. But again, though, quickly at a little bit of a cost of the power. All right, we want to get both. That's where you see so many great champions having someone hold the bag for them as they hit the bag. Okay? And that's something my dad did for me, and I recommend you have someone do it for you. You don't have to be skilled to do it, right? It doesn't matter who they are. They can just hold the bag for you. And that allows you to put your punches together in a fashion that are, in the way we're talking about training-wise, the right way, but also not change the aim up. Because I remember this all the time when I was boxing. If I had someone to hold the bag for me, I throw a 3-2, and the 3 and the 2 are going to be right there, right where someone's head would be, right? I do the 3, maybe it hits the arm, and I get the 2 down the middle. But when I would not have someone hold the bag, I would shoot the 3, big and powerful 3. It's not just a setup 3; it's a big, powerful 3. That if that hurts them, because that's the thing too, you don't always know what hurts them. Okay, setting up punches is a real thing, yes. Doing some throwaway punches is a real thing, yes. But doing some throwaway punches to set up the one big punch, you're missing some opportunities oftentimes if that is your default that you do all the time. Let's learn how to do this other style where we can throw 2 hard punches, a few hard punches together. So therefore, the first, let's say we're doing a 3-2. The 3, if it landed, hurts them. The 2 is thrown and they were already falling, and now it's just academic that you shot the right hand. Okay? You see that all the time with fights. You see a guy throw one punch, that rocks the guy, drops the guy, and the guy's coming back with another punch that he either holds back or stops because the guy's already falling. He was ready to come back with another powerful shot. All right? Versus just doing a 3 that's to open him up to get the big 2. And in hell, dude, if they stay up and we hit him with the 3 and the 3 wasn't as powerful as it could be or whatever, or maybe they're just that darn tough and you hurt him with that 3, that 2 is going to get him out of there, right? But too often we'll do that 3 and maybe the 3 actually landed, but we do like a 50%, 60% power shot, and then the 2 is a 100% power shot. But because we hit him with, they can take the 60% power shot and the 100% power shot on the right hand, but they couldn't take the 100 and the 100. The 100% power 3 left hook and the 100% power straight right hand, they couldn't have taken both of those, right? But anyway, so when you hit the bag hard with that big hook, it moves over a little bit to the side, and now you got to track it over there, right? So instead of boom, boom, because you get someone with the left hook, you're just going to snap their head oftentimes like that. They're not going to rock over like a heavy bag. You're just going to snap their jaw, and now it's right there for you, boom, to get them. So that's the problem if you don't have someone holding the bag and you're doing this type of training, which makes people not do this type of training. But again, so many old school people, they just hold the bag. All right. Now they also move around the bag too. You have two different things. You hold the bag and you move around the bag, right? Both are important and both are essential. So what is, though, the highest yielding attack or highest yield attack in boxing? Okay. So if you're going to attack, what is going to be generally, if you do this more than anything else, you're most likely to be successful. Well, if you've seen my multi-jab video, you know what the answer is, right? So it's going to be a multi-jab attack, right? So you want to make that simple for you, right? KISS, keep it simple, stupid, is just double jabs. But of course, we want some triple jabs and things like that. Putting the punches together after the jab, right? After those jabs. So we do our jabs, jab, 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 whatever, double jab. And instead of just one big right hand, right? We come back with something else afterwards, right? And we put them together a little bit because those punches create openings. And guess what also, too? Hard punches create openings, right? Yeah, throwaway punches can create openings as well. But hard punches also create openings, right? Someone has that resistance to block a shot or reaction to a big shot, they're going to react more, and that opens them up for the following punch, all right? And then, again, the last thing is hard punches, right? So multi-jab attack to initiate it. When after those jabs, we're going to put our punches together, and we're going to throw with hard punches. And guess what? If you hit something, you're probably going to be successful. You're probably going to shut down counters too, because if someone's worried about your power, they're less likely to pull the trigger. You see this all the time, even at a high level. Now, this is how we're going to do our bag work to be the most, to have it be the most directly designed to our training for the sport of boxing. Right, a little typo here, but doesn't matter. We're not here for that, right? But so to have our training most directly designed for the sport, because again, you have all this type of training that people do, a speed bag, things like that, where you get really good at the speed bag, get really good at the double M bag, get really good at looking pretty on a heavy bag. At the end of the day, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter one bit. It literally means just about zero. Okay, what matters. Okay, I'm not saying it's not helpful, but what matters is being good in a sport called boxing, which is going against another person with gloves on, trying to hit them more than they hit you. Hit hard and be hard to hit. That's what's important. All right? So it's just like if you were doing the sport of soccer and you get really good at all these like ball tricks, but then like you just continually just suck at performing in practice games or games. The ball tricks don't matter, right? All the other stuff you're doing doesn't matter. It's zero. We got to get better at the game, right? And this is what we need to remember with our training. All right. So a lot of people say they'll be first with boxing, but most people have a tough time with doing that, right? So they'll be first, but they won't be first with the strategies and tactics we're talking about. And again, they don't practice being first. So again, if you have to be first, being first with the highest yielding attack, which is multi-jabs, combinations, and throwing hard, right? But we need to practice this in our training. So how do we practice in our training? How do we practice it with a heavy bag so we get that direct feedback? Because if you only shadow box, your body's going to lie to you a little bit. It's going to say, yeah, I'm throwing punches hard. Now you're not really throwing punches hard. You got to have that instant feedback oftentimes of hitting something. And therefore, the whole gym knows if you're hitting hard or hitting not hard, right? All right. So how are we going to do this? We're going to start on the outside, all right? Think about how often you do this with a heavy bag. Probably not very much. You start on the outside, and you double jab in. Or multi-jab, but you double jab in and have to step. The first jab might not land. The second jab lands. That tells you your range. Now your jab is your cane to the blind man, all right? So now we're getting in. Then you do your combo. Remember, just another thing to just put the nail in the coffin. Being attacked by many fists is worse than being attacked by one fist. Right? I'd rather only be attacked by one fist than by many fists, all right? And by throwing combos together, you are literally creating 6-10 fists going after somebody, right? That's a hard thing to defend against, hard thing to deal with, hard thing to counter, and openings get created. You don't look for openings. Generally, you create openings, all right? Now, because you can look all night. Jab out, and off to the side, or head movement at the end. So jab out and off, or head movement at the end. So therefore, the jab out and off to the side turns them and allows you a eloquent way to exit, right? Because you're keeping that stick in their face, controlling their head, maybe getting more points, right? If you're talking amateurs, creating more damage, and then shutting down a lot of counters by punching and moving at the same time, turning your opponent, which makes them have to recalibrate as you turn. Okay? Or do head movement just to have that response to counter punches to make a clear miss. So when you're done, move the head, right? Almost like a peekaboo style thing. And no matter how much I rag on the peekaboo style, there are absolutely 100% elements that are great and important, like putting your punches together and moving your head. Everything is hard that you're throwing. Okay, everything is hard. There's no setup punches. Everything is your best effort at max power and keeping it all together. Okay, so everything is hard. Everything has mean intentions. Just to kind of go on that peekaboo type language. Mean intentions. It all has mean intentions. All right. Now, everything is snappy and explosive, right? So we can throw hard, but it's just kind of just slugging style shots. They're kind of ponderous. We want to throw them snappy, explosively, which means fast and powerfully. Okay, because you can go fast and not be powerful. You can be powerful and be kind of slow. We want to find that perfect place in between. And then do your best to maintain your form. Bringing the hands back to the face, keeping the chin down, keeping relatively good balance, things like that. Now, at the end of the day, we all talk about boxing skill, but think about this, and it's easiest to think about with yourself. If you were to fight a version of you that did this, what would happen, right? So if you were to fight a version of you, because oftentimes we'll fight, talk about, oh, if you fought this one guy, oh, well, I'm better than that. It's not, whatever. You have a copy of you, right? Exact same person, just like how you are right now. If you were to fight a version of you that, 1, keeps their chin down, right? 2, hits hard. 3, puts their punches together. What do you think? Like, does this consistently, all the time? You are in for a tough night and possibly a loss to yourself. Wouldn't you agree? Right? Because we all strive to do these things, or if you're not, you should be. But if you were to fight a version of yourself that did these things consistently every single freaking round, that person, ask yourself what might happen. Right? Now, without further ado, here are the combos to practice on the bag, stepping in with the jabs, combination, etc. Before we get into that, make sure you like, subscribe, comment below what you gained from this video or any questions you have. Great way to support the channel is buy me a cup of coffee with a super thanks. Helps out a lot. How do you do that? At the right side bottom of this video, right there, circle, it says thanks with the heart and money. Boom. Look at all these awesome people recently that have done super thanks. It helps the channel a lot. And if you want me to produce more of this content, then drop a super thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. All right. So here are the combos. Now, you gotta get used to our number system. Now, to be clear, this is not my dad's number system. The 1, 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3 is, because that's kind of universal throughout all of boxing, minus like peekaboo boxing people, which is few and far between. So, and that's why for years I never talked about past 3, because there's some conjecture, right, about what is a 4. Is a 4 a rear hook or is it a rear uppercut, right? Well, most old school boxing coaches don't teach a rear hook, right? My dad did, and I think you should. There's a time and a place for it. The reason why is because it's the slowest punch to throw. It has the least openings, and also that's where beginners, they tend to just sling their big, powerful arm, and they do it too much, and it gets countered easily and everything else, versus if they straighten it out. The only punch I've had to ban from fighters is a rear hook, a right hook with an orthodox, because people will rely on it. They'll double jab and throw a big, sloppy rear hand, and it doesn't land, or they get countered, or they kind of slap it or whatever, and if they would just shot it straight, they would have landed it, right? Because it's real range dependent. There's a lot of reasons, right? So anyway, we put a B by body shots, okay? 4 is the rear uppercut. 5 is the lead uppercut. First combination, we call this classic combination. 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1. Simple way to put your hands together, because so many people, they stop at 1, 2, 3, right? They go 1, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 1, 2, 3, and that's it. But after that 3, man, let's come back with that right hand and finish up with double jab off to the side. The classic combination, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1. Then we have 1, 1, 6B, which is the right hook to the body. Then the 3B, the left hook to the body, 6 up top, 3 up top, 2, 1, 1. All right. We named this combination after Ike Williams when he was ripping in the Bojack. So 1, 1, body, body, head, head, 2, 1, 1. Then we have the what we call Tyson combination, 1, 1, rear hook to the body, right hook to the body, right uppercut, doubling up on the side. So hook to the body, uppercut, right, classic combo. Then 2, then 3, 2, so 3 after that uppercut, then 2, 1, 1. Then we have the 1, 1, 6B, 3, 2, 1, 1. Call that Tony Zale because that's what he knocked out Rocky Graziano with. And then we have the 1, 1, 2, 3 to the body, 3 up top, 2, 1, 1. That we call Robinson because Robinson was great at doubling up those hooks, right? That's his signature. Of course, he would sometimes double the left hook to the body and then 3 up top, but whatever. Great combinations to practice. And I hope you enjoy this video, guys. Running out of my time here. And if you enjoy this video, there's other videos right here next to me. Click on one of those because they're exactly what you need.